Hey, what's going on, pre-Chiro students, chiropractors, current chiropractic students, anybody who's out there who's tapped into this pre-Chiro podcast, which aims to demystify the path to becoming a chiropractor and everything that that entails. And also, we have interesting conversations with people who are involved in the profession, who are involved in the school system. So today we have Dr. Boyce Kinnison out at Barcelona Chiropractic College. Dr. Boyce, why don't you just get us started by introducing yourself, letting us know what you were up to before chiropractic and what attracted you to becoming a chiropractor?
All right, great. Well, thanks for having me. It's good, nice to meet you finally. So I was born in chiropractic. My father was a chiropractor, so I received my first chiropractic adjustment when I was 1 day old, and just a few hours. I think 3.5 hours. My first adjustment, and I've been adjusted and checked, every week my entire life. So that philosophy and that way of living, wasn't something that I had to seek out. It was something that was just a part of my life. And I had always thought that this would be a great thing to pursue. However, I wasn't the best student in high school. And when I graduated high school, I just thought there's no way I'm going to continue on and do another 5 to 7 years of college. So I just wasn't ready. It's something that I was interested in, but I just didn't see how that was going to happen. So moved out into another city, started bartending and waiting tables, and I did that for about 3 years. And I realized, I had to get out and work a little bit, and realized like I definitely don't want to work holidays and weekends the rest of my life. And although I like that style, that high energy, I like that work environment, it just wasn't going to work long term. So that started to become my motivation to, okay, always seeing my father, he worked a 4 day week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays off, and Fridays, worked probably 20, 24 hours a week, and just saw that lifestyle and that the freedom that it gave me with my schedule was something more that I was going to be searching out. So going back, speaking of my father and a really good friend of mine, Dr. Will Bratcher, his father went to school with my dad, and he was a chiropractor, and he just kept putting his foot further and further, just pushing, and just kept saying, look, if I can do this, you can do this. And and so finally I just said, okay, I'm gonna do it. And my brother and I actually started Park Chiropractic College together in '98, and so we did the program together, and graduated in 2001. During those years of studying, the very first year, I, with a group of friends from college, wanted to do a trip to Europe, and that trip we just fell in love with the lifestyle, fell in love with just the different cultures and everything. It just resonated with us. And on that trip, there was 5 of us. We said we were going to live in Europe one day when we graduated. Out of those 5, 4 of us now live here in Europe. Upon graduation, I was the first, and the other ones came over short afterwards. And I had probably about 5 or 6 other friends as well from about a 1 year graduation time from mine that actually moved over as well. So I think it's about 8 or 10 of us now that have been here since 2001, 2002. And and really enjoying it. So I was first in Holland. I was there for 5 years. Loved it. I really enjoyed the Dutch people and lifestyle. I really loved it. Just the weather was horrible, and my best friend was living in Mallorca, working here, and I was coming down every few months to see him, and I just looked like, wow, my friend lives here 20 miles from 10 different beaches you would find on a postcard, and it's beautiful all year round. And so I thought Mallorca was a little bit small for me, but I had a group of friends in Barcelona, and that's when I decided to make the trip here to Barcelona. During that time, was going to a lot of these seminars that were going on, Chiro Europe seminars. Before it was Chiro Europe, it was Oliva, and just really had this amazing group of chiropractors here in Spain and Europe that were just really inspired to make a difference. And one of those things that came up. I don't know if you want me to go straight into the BCC thing or.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we were going to these seminars. We were just completely um, ready to do something. We weren't sure what it was, but something needed to be done. When we looked at demographics of how many chiropractors were in Europe and how many people there were, just if we really want to get the message out there, we need more chiropractors. It's the only way to do it. We needed more chiropractors. And the schools that were out there at the time, and they're still there, obviously they didn't have the capacity to graduate more people. And also we didn't find that they were really resonating with the values and principles that we were. And so the only way to make those changes is just create your own. So a group of people got together, put in some money, hired a consulting firm to Blue Egg, which you know the story. Blue Egg came back with us with this huge dossier of this is what you need to do to make this happen, and basically you just need a whole lot of money. So we went and started working on the project. We went out and approached our tribe at that time, which was the seminars, and presented the idea. This is what we're going to do. We've got all this done already, but we need about €1 million to open the school, and so let's make it happen. And so we went through this donation thing, and we amazingly raised this money just out of I don't know what it was. It was just time. Things collided at the right time. I don't think we could have done that now. For example, it's just at that time, the stars were aligned, and we had a crew and a tribe that was really just ready to support us. And so when we started the donation platform, we didn't really get anywhere near what we were supposed to get. Until one person, a guy named Ata Puranami, who works in Alicante, just stood up. This was during the seminar while we were having this, time of who's going to donate to the school. And I think we'd probably maybe raised maybe 50,000, 60,000 maybe. And this guy I swear the story goes, I think lightning struck the building and just went straight through and hit him in the ass. And he just flew across, levitated, flew across the room and just grabbed the microphone out of Ron Oberstein's hand and just lost it. Just went, this is crazy. You guys asked for it. This guy, you guys wanted a college that supports your values and principles. Now here it's here. They're ready to do it. They just need your money. They're not asking for help. They just need your money. They need support. And it went, he ripped his shirt off. He was running around the room. He said, I donated 10,000. Now I'm going to raise it to 20,000. And he was just, I don't know what happened. He just lost it. And it wasn't the ideal way to go down for raising money, but it worked. We had pledged around 630,000 euros after what he did at that moment. So stars aligned. We got some money going there, and we got then some resources to start hiring people and get to work. And a few short less than 3 years later, we opened the school, which I think was nothing more than a miracle. A lot of it was due to the consulting firm that we'd hired. Really just, they were very expensive. And when other countries are asking us, what'd you guys do? Other associations, what'd you do? And by far, that's one of the most important things. We don't know how to get into the universities. We don't know how to communicate them. We don't know how, we're chiropractors, and hiring this firm, and they knew how to communicate to the universities that we needed to help build the convenios to structure the school and the diplomas and things like that. And they did all that. We were the energy behind it. We were the driving force behind it. But, they were the ones that no, don't open that door yet. We're not ready for that door. Open this door. If not, you're just going to keep tripping over yourselves. And awesome. I think that's why we got through the process so fast.
Amazing. No, it's a great story. It's a nice way to sort of plant the seed of what you've been able to create. So can you just reflect now? That must have been about 10 years ago, if not more. What has the college become? What is the current state of the college? And just talk about a couple of stories of some students that have come through there and gone out to be wildly successful in their own unique way.
Okay. So that whole process started probably around 16 years ago. And then the school opened, of course, I think in 2009. the first cohort, I think we had about 25 students. We have a 5-year program. It's a different setup school system than in the States. We only take in one cohort per year, like a traditional, I guess, high school in America would do. That's the Bolognian doctrine. That's, Europe-wide, all universities work on the same structure. We take our vacation serious here in Europe. Don't mess around with it. The summers are free always. Mm-hmm. So it's a 5-year program. Going through that process was really, really intense. Lots of challenges arose and still do. A lot of growing pains. And then, probably one of the biggest ones would have been the accreditation process, where at the first go around, so that was a 5-year process the first time. So you have to be where you're graduating your first class, and they come in and they do the on-site visit. So the 4 years prior to that, all our self-study reports, we've all getting a thumbs up. You guys are doing a great job. Anyways, come to the accreditation. We didn't get the accreditation. Really knocked the wind out of ourselves. It really it almost shut down the school, between how many students left the school and how many less students we got into the next cohort that was starting next year. It almost closed us down. We had to search out more money, take on loans and everything to get to that process. But thankfully, a good portion, probably 80% of the students had faith in us that we had figured out and we'd solved the problem. And within 2 years, they came back, we got our accreditation, and that accreditation committee actually gave us accreditation for the years before that as well. Said that sorry.
The audience for this podcast is the student that might want to come to your program.
All right.
So let's just reel it in, just to create these
I'll
little sound bites where it's like, hey, this is what the program is. This is how you can come study with us. This is what we offer. This is my role at the school.
Right.
So why don't we just get started by you letting us know what your role at the school is, and what's going on at the school that's unique potentially from other schools in Europe.
Okay. Well, I'm the president of the Board of Governors for the last, I believe, 3 years, and I've been on the board the Board of Governors since its fruition in 2007. We're really excited. We've just taken in our largest cohort of students this last year. We have the whole 5-year program. We have the most students that we've ever had, I think 165. So the school is growing exactly how we have in mind. We obviously wanted to grow faster, but the universe gives us what we're ready for, and the school continues to grow along this path. What does BCC have to offer that other schools may not? First of all, we're the only bilingual chiropractic school in the world. That in itself was a huge undertaking and task for us to accomplish. But the beauty behind that is now we're graduating students that are bilingual. We have students from, I think, 23 different countries. So students who don't have Spanish before they get here, they learn Spanish in their first year, and then the classes are following that. Then after that, the students who have Spanish don't have English, they're learning English their first year. So imagine these students now, when they graduated, they're bilingual, they're working as chiropractors. That pretty much allows you to work those two languages in probably 80% of the world, without any having to learn a language. You know how to do a first visit, you know how to do a report, you know how to do anything in 2 languages. So that opens your doors up for where you want to work. Our school,
and then obviously you're practicing the language of touch, which is universal.
Exactly.
What's the demographic of students that you're attracting to the school currently? If you were to kind of look at who's there and what attracted them to there, what are the main motivating factors that might move somebody from another country to your school? I know it's probably diverse, but
right. Well, we have students from 18 years old, I think, to 61 is the oldest guy, a gentleman from Finland. Demographics wise, I'd say the huge portion of that would be between 18 and 25 years old. But we just had a board meeting last night, and we were discussing, our, student recruitment strategies over the next thing, and what's been coming in, who's calling lately. And interesting enough, there's a and when we first started out, the majority of the students came to us through our offices, referral based. But now, as we're getting bigger and our name's getting out there, a lot of chiropractors around Europe and around the world who maybe didn't know us before, who we were, maybe they still don't know us, but they've heard our name enough times. We've been around long enough. We've been through, the grind, and we're sticking around. And so now we're getting support where we didn't get it before. But interesting enough, one of the things that came up yesterday is we're having quite a few students that call, or potential students call, to say, I've been watching these videos on YouTube and I want to do it. I want to do this. I want to serve people through this way. So, these crack addicts, as they're calling them, are getting a lot of attention, and people are, raising awareness to how alternative ways of treating or helping people with their health. And so that's an interesting demographics that did not exist 2-3 years ago, but it's something that's there now. And the next area would be people now that are going through this crisis through business. We're finding that people are calling us up saying, you know what, I loved what I did. I don't love it anymore, and I want to change in my life. And so here are people, their parents, they're graduates. They've done a degree before. They've been in business, self-employed or whatever, and they're just like, I need to change. I need to change. And, what a better time to go back into studying if you're not going through some sort of crisis. There's going to be a lag period for some businesses before they come back. You could possibly be almost finished with your school, your course, by the time that everything gets back at 100% the way maybe that affected your business or not. So one thing I think is really great with chiropractic is we are the health field. We are a health field. And, my doors have been open pretty much this whole time. I shut down 2 weeks, the very first 2 weeks of the lockdown. And as you guys know, in Barcelona, we had, the hardest, between Italy and us, we had the hardest lockdowns in the world. Some of the hardest lockdowns. For 6 weeks completely locked down into our houses. But we were allowed, because we were still, one of the essentials was health providers. So we were allowed to stay open. I closed down the first 2 weeks. Let's see what's going on here. After that, I said, I've got to get back in and start helping these people, because if they don't come to me, the next option is a hospital. And, you shouldn't be going to a hospital for, back problems or pain in a crisis like this. If you want to know where, unfortunately, catch infections, the highest place would be in a hospital. So let's keep the hospitals empty as much as we can and keep the priority for people who need it. So I just started, went back to work, let all my patients know, we're going to send you justificante, that you're allowed to come to our office. I mean, we weren't busy, but, the wheels were still turning, and, it allowed me to leave my house every day and do something I love to do. And, people were coming in, and so that's a great thing. I mean, health is something we're always going to be needed. We're needed more and more.
Can you mention what it's like to be in full-time practice and then also have the passion and the fire within to stay connected to the school and still give back to the profession? Because obviously it gives us so much as providers and just the life that we're able to live as chiropractors. But can you talk about why you stay active at the school while being in full-time practice?
Yeah. Why not? Why would I not? I feel that we have a service to provide. And when you've been in practice as long as I have, it's 20 years now, you see the people that come into your office, and you know it as well. And they've been everywhere else. They've gone everywhere else. I mean, it's not like the States, where a lot of people, they may come in right away, to the chiropractor. You're in a car wreck, you call, the lawyer says, go straight to the chiropractor. So I get a little emotional when I get into this story, but, it's, here they go to their GP, they go through all the routes, they traumatologist, they go through their whole process, the x-rays, MRIs. Typically by the time people get to us, they're 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line. They got a stack of MRIs and x-rays, and they're desperate. They're desperate, you know? And so when you see this, you know that these two hands can only see so many people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how can we serve more people?
Mm-hmm.
Our mission statement in the beginning of the college was making vitalistic chiropractic mainstream. And at that time, we were looking around the world, and especially in Europe, there were many countries in Europe with no chiropractors, none. So, I mean, that's horrible.
Yeah.
To think that chiropractic at that time had been around over 40 years in Europe, and there was countries with zero chiropractors. Mm-hmm. So now those countries have chiropractors. Now they have associations. Places like Hungary didn't have any before. Now they have an association. They're getting, you know, students coming to school. Poland, you know, Finland has a lot of chiropractors now, and Turkey, like Croatia's got an association now. None of that existed 10, 11 years ago before the BCC was around. So that is like, okay, what's the driving force is like, now we're starting to see fruition of the work and the ideals that came about 16 years ago, you know. Mm-hmm. Now it's happening. You know, mm-hmm. Now it's happening. And, you know, I have to, you know, honestly admit that drive isn't always there, and that passion isn't always the same. You know, it definitely goes up and down, mm-hmm. you know, but you have to stay reconnected to your community. Seminars are probably the biggest thing nowadays. We didn't have podcasts 5 years ago. We didn't have these chat rooms, but that's a whole nother way of keeping plugged into the source, you know, and that source is communicating with your tribe on a regular basis, because when you go out to work, you know, we are, just by our beliefs and our principles, going against, you know, we're swimming upstream. Mm-hmm. We're swimming upstream. So at the end of the day and at the end of the week, you know, you can be bogged down because of all the things you've dealt with. But what do? You know, you read your books, you communicate with your friends, you get back with your tribe, and you know, you plug back in, and then you're ready for the next day. So those are the things that I think you need to do to keep on board and keep the passion alive, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Boyce, I really appreciate you. I want to.
Can I tell a story? Another story? This one pops in the head because you said you want to hear a few stories, a few students. How long do you? I'll keep this short.
Start telling the story. I'm gonna go get my cell phone charger. I will be right back. But start telling the story, because I'm not gonna be in this when we edit this anyway. You're gonna be in it. So.
Okay, great. So yeah, there's a great story of a couple students from Italy, and we have quite a few students from Italy. I'll have from the beginning. And these two guys were osteopaths, and they just got connected with chiropractic and just fell in love with it. And both of them had families and decided to study chiropractic. And so they figured out a way. And so for 5 years, they would fly to Barcelona on Sunday night or Monday morning and fly back to Italy on Friday evening. And they would work in their practices, their osteopath practices on the weekends to earn money to support their family and pay for their college. They did that for 5 years. Now that commitment is unbelievable. It's just a beautiful story. And I'll never forget that they graduated and they built a whole new office. New name, new everything. And upon graduation, they took their diplomas, set everything up in the new office, and told everybody in their clinic, say, we're cleaning this slate. We're chiropractors now. We're going to have this new big office. And they just were doing amazing and are doing amazing. And I remember it was within a year or so, there was a chiropractor in their community who had been around for years and years and years. And he contacted them and asked them, said, what are you guys doing? Would you mind helping me out? because they were so busy. The buzz in the town were like, these are the guys. They're helping everyone. And this chiropractor had been around a long time, but he had lost the passion, lost the drive. His practice was barely getting by. He was barely surviving. And he just reached out to him. And these were new graduates. These guys had just graduated school, but they had just this thriving practice. And they said, sure, come over. We'll share with you whatever we learned and what we're doing. And, we hope it works for you as well. And so I think that was a great story just to hear these guys, what they went through to become a chiropractor. They're already successful in the osteopath, but they were like, it doesn't resonate with us like chiropractic does. And we want to be chiropractors. And they couldn't come over and just do a couple weekend courses or do just 2 years of the 5-year program. We said, look, you're doing all of your 5-year programs because we think that's what it takes to develop and train a chiropractor. Now they got to opt out of a few classes, obviously, because they had already done those classes in anatomy and things like that. But the whole program, we insisted that they did because their minds as osteopaths had been trained and had been developed and hardwired. In order to change that, it's not something you can do some chiropractic technique classes over the weekend and their principles and philosophies are now chiropractic. That doesn't happen. So they went through the whole program and they're killing it. They're doing great.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a great point that you bring up, that you really do need time. All processes take time, and to uproot some of your beliefs that are so closely held because you were raised with them, and challenge those beliefs lovingly, of course, through a extended program is so essential to really get out of chiropractic school with clarity, focus, purpose. Because it is a different way of thinking. It's a different way of thinking than most people that go to chiropractic school have when they arrive. If you were to do like an interview when they first get to chiropractic school and keep that as like a saved video, and then interview them when they're graduating and ask them the same questions, it would be fascinating to see how different and how much more broad and expanded their context becomes for what health is, for what life is all about. Can you talk about what it would mean to have high school students beginning to explore the principles of chiropractic, getting exposure to different types of chiropractic practice, and really starting to engage with this profession earlier on, and then arriving to your school with a level of clarity and a level of focus on why they're there, what they want to study, what they want to focus on, what type of practice they want to have? Like, how would that make their experience different within the program that you're offering?
That's a good question. Ben, I believe there's two sides of that story, because we have people who have no background in chiropractic whatsoever, but they read a book, they hear a story, and it's done. So I think the principles of what chiropractic is based off of exist already in the world, just a natural way of living, respecting the body's own ability to heal itself. I think that's not new to chiropractic. So we sometimes get people in that have never even been to a chiropractor. And we had people when I went to school as well that never been to a chiropractor, never received a chiropractic adjustment, but they didn't care. They're like, this makes sense to me and I want to do this. Is that the best way to go? It is just the way that it goes sometime, and they can be just amazing chiropractors. However, for people who are considering this as possibly a profession, I would say contact some of your local chiropractors. If you're not already going to somebody, maybe contact some chiropractors, go do a first visit, visit their office. Hey, look, I'm interested in studying chiropractic. Would you mind, if I took you to lunch? Obviously the chiropractor's he's not going to make you pay for the lunch, but you offer to engage and say, I want to offer you to take you to lunch, or if I can come by your office and ask some questions. If you have a few schools that you're possibly interested in, I tell this to students when they come to our open day. I say, don't just come to Barcelona College and just make a decision. I recommend you go to other colleges as well that you're interested in. Talk to the staff, talk to the students, more importantly than anything. See where they're at, see where their headspace at, see what their philosophy is. and does it resonate with you? Because I'll be the first to tell you, we have many chiropractors come and speak at the school, and they go around to schools all around the world to speak, and they say something's different here. These students ask different questions, and I love that. And so I think the best thing, if you're planning on making a decision in chiropractic, visit your local chiropractor, start getting adjusted, visit a few different offices, and then most importantly, also find a few schools that you might be considering. And I hope it's Barcelona, but if it's not, that's great. We'll be colleagues someday as well. But go visit the schools, talk to the students, and find which resonates best with you. Because if it doesn't, then you're always going to have second thoughts, like I should have went and visited the other school. I should have. No, I visited 4 different colleges. I wrote down my pros and cons, and I made a decision based off what was going to support me the best going through this whole process, and make your decision off of that. And like I said, I think BCC, especially in Europe, is the best one to choose. Worldwide, I think we have a lot to offer as well. We're not as big as the big colleges, that we have in the United States and New Zealand. However, there's also something very nice about the Barcelona College, because we're still quite small. It's still quite family oriented, and everybody knows everybody by first and last name. You didn't get that at my university at Parker. There was 200 people in my class, 1,500 people in the school. So, you recognize faces, but you knew a small portion of that. So, for the time being, Barcelona is still quite small, so it still has that really tight family bond.
I know a lot of students are thinking about the cost of their education here, especially in the US and other parts of the world. And then they say, go to Europe for school because Europe is a lot more reasonable in regards to the cost. Is the cost a lot different for Barcelona than it would be at a school here? Because here, I believe it's around 100 to 200,000 that a student looking at coming out in debt with. And how do students get funding to go to BCC? What are the costs looking like?
Yeah, well, costs for BCC compared to other colleges, we are way cheaper than anything in the States. And Europe, we're on the middle level, right? So I believe we're around 11,500 euros. I think that works out to around $14,000, maybe $15,000 a year for 5 years. So I believe in the States they're doing so probably around 25,000 a year, and I think it's a almost 4 year program now. So there's a big gap there for sure, in the cost. Unfortunately, we're also not like the States, and where there's tons of student loan programs. We don't have that here. So at the time being, and that's something we discussed last night in our board meeting, we've always been discussing what are our options there, because that is a hurdle for people, especially in Spain. But just because there's no student loan programs and people aren't used to paying for their universities here. So cost-wise, it's way more economical. I would say we generally tell students or parents that it would cost probably around 1,000 euros a month for cost of living. So factor in around 14,000, 15,000 a year for your student, your program at the BCC, and then another 1,000 euros a month for your living expenses. So I think we're far below anything that you could do in the States. So that's another benefit of coming to, and you get to live in Barcelona. It's a beautiful place. We're right on the Mediterranean Sea. I can surf and snowboard in the same day if I want. We go up. You can go up in the morning and snowboard. You can be on the slopes by 9, 2-hour drive. Come back down in the afternoon at 4, and you can snowboard, in the early evening, or surf in the early evening. So I'm right on the beach. Food, culture, amazing. The international airport is just 15 minutes outside the center. I can be one of 25 countries in less than 2 hours from my front door. That's awesome. And it's cheap. I mean, typically flights around Europe, anywhere from 100 euros to 200 euros, anywhere Europe. And, that's on the high end, with Ryanair and some of these budget airlines, you can get a trip to Europe or to Italy for, 60 euros for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of stuff resonates for me. It may not resonate for everybody, but I love to travel, and I love the accessibility of just jumping on a plane and be in a new place, new language, new culture in just a few hours.
Mm-hmm. No, it's great. It's great. I think that we've got enough information shared to put together a nice little video about Barcelona from your perspectives and just from your involvement. Is there any last sort of exciting messages? Like if that was the end of the interview, is there anything that like came out of the board meeting last night that is exciting, that's emerging for the school that the school has to look forward to?
Yeah. So we basically at the BCC we just finished our first 10 years, and now we just came up to our what would be our third accreditation process. Now this accreditation process we can possibly get it for 3, 5, or 8 years. Our initial verbal reports were quite positive for the people who attended all these meetings, and between staff and students, everybody was quite positive. Now we're still waiting for those results, but I'm hopeful that that's going to be at the 5 or 8 year accreditation process lengthwise. But one of our things we were focusing on our board right now is what's our strategic planning for the next 5, 10 years, and getting over the biggest obstacles I think we've gotten through so far. I think the next steps we're looking at is revamping our communication systems at the school. Right now we have a VLE program that students can pull up everything online and all their classes. Now this was there before the online schooling, where they have access to all this, but it just needs an upgrade. So we're looking at a new system that's going to be super dynamic, that we'll be able to use for alumni and chiropractors and have chat groups and stuff in that. Next thing we're looking at right now is, I think that's the short term, really, really short term. We want to get that done probably before the next school year starts. We're looking for a new campus. We'd like to have our own self-standing campus. That's always been a vision of the school. And now with the economy dropping, prices are dropping, and it might be more feasible now. We'd really love to have, students all under one house. They're spread between 2 locations, but we would like to have a home, a place where they have an outdoor area to relax and study and stuff like that. And although we have space, we see it much bigger. So that's one of our next goals for that. One of the next things also, we're just starting working on our Lyceum the last few years, and we have a new guy taking up the program, Boo Bernier. We have tons of experience, and we'll probably be doing a Lyceum here shortly. We've been postponing it a bit, hoping to get some students all in one room again, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen in the next few months. So I think we're just going to go forward. We'll let you know when that's going to be. We'll have that accessible for any potential students as well. So the Lyceum is also a huge thing for our school because it's a way to keep. I gotta go. Okay. All right.